Okay, so let's look at how to graph a situation where our amplitude is a bit different. And I've labeled out some useful steps here on the side. So first is going to be identify the period of the graph. Label the x-axis as needed. So p is going to equal 2 pi over b, as we've done over and over at this point. B is 1/2, so this is going to equal 4 pi. That means our x-axis needs to be labeled by whatever 4 pi over 4 is, because we have those 4 sections of our graph. It needs to go up by pi. Conveniently, it already is labeled for us. Now, another piece that is new in this specific example that I want to take a moment to talk about is this, what this means right here that I just underlined. From 0 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 4 pi. That's telling you that you only graph points from 0 up to 4 pi. You don't graph anything else except between that interval. So that's a very common way the Regents phrases a question like this. Graph this from 0 to 4 pi. They could even ask you to graph this exact equation from pi to 3 pi. It wouldn't look like a normal sine curve. It would only look like some certain portion of it. Second step we need here is to figure out what our midline is. Well, here's our C value. Our midline is -1. So I'm going to put that dashed line in at -1. Again, you don't have to do this. I would just definitely not do that as a solid line ever. I just like having the midline there as reference. And a nice rule of thumb here that I have bolded, hopefully from the other lessons we've picked up on the fact that sine curves will start on the midline. So just like normal old sine of x started at 0, if we have a shift, a vertical shift, sine's always going to start on the midline. That's how you help identify something is a sine curve. Cosine is going to start off the midline. So we are dealing with a cosine curve here that'll start off the midline. And now we're going to need to plot our 5 key points adjusting for amplitude. Our amplitude A is equal to 2. What that means is every single point will either be on the midline itself, 2 above the midline, or 2 below the midline. So cosine starts off the midline. It starts at its maximum value, and that's going to be 2 units above the midline. So here's 0, that puts us at 1. If the midline's -1, 2 units above is 1. And then it goes to midline, then it decreases to its minimum value of -3. Comes back up to the midline, comes back to 1. And we have our weird smiley face. Fun. So there is our graph. Okay, going to the next one. Find that period first. Period equals 2 pi over 2. So period's pi. We're going to need to label our intervals or our sections of our graph by pi over 4. We take the period, divide by 4 as we have in all of those. Now, again, we're graphing from 0 less than or equal x less than or equal to 2 pi. We need to graph at least up to 2 pi. So here's how I'm going to label this. Looking at what I have, I'm going to say, all right, here's probably a good spot for pi over 4. Making this guy pi over 2. Now, I don't have to label out every single little dash mark. Once I've labeled this, I actually have enough where I don't really have to label more. It's just always good to. But I'm not going to put every pi over 4 interval on there as long as I know there is a point there. There is a point that's going to be here, or above it rather. This is going to be 3 pi over 2. Just kind of similar, think of a tape measure. The tape measure doesn't always have all those little tick marks labeled. They have the inches labeled, but what's in between isn't always labeled. So as long as you have it labeled at least like this, you're going to be fine. So next, we have to look at what is our midline. Okay, our C value here is 2, so our midline's at y equals 2. Then we determine, okay, what's our amplitude A? A is equal to 3. So we have to go 3 above and 3 below the midline. Sine starts on the midline, goes 3 above from 2, so that's 5 here. And if this video runs out of time, I will have the completion of it in the next one. So that point's off.